To bring you on to talk about that, including the things that you saw about China and Russia. To lead us into that, where did these visions come from? When did they begin in your life?
Well, I've been clairvoyant for a long time. It really turned on with adolescence and all the biochemical changes that go on at that time. But I mainly dealt with spirit guides and development, and so it was a little while before I got hit with an intense period of visions. Is the only way to describe them. They were in the dream state, but I would be fully conscious as a normal person is, and fully conscious of what I was seeing and experiencing, feeling, tasting, smelling, the environment. And I really was only seeing about 12 different events in the future, but I was seeing them repeatedly, night after night, for several years. It was pretty much forcing me to believe what I was seeing. And I feel like in present time, that was 10 years ago, I feel like, now it's more of, it's happening. It's not, these are future time events. I kind of sit in horror Googling Russia and looking at what they're doing each month, because these were things that I saw 10 years ago. So it's quite a concerning period for me right now with regards to the stuff that I've seen.
Nuclear weapons is the topic at hand. What have you seen?
Well, I do see war coming. Initially, I saw 9/11, a terrorist attack on New York. I saw it kind of awakening the war machines on the planet. I saw a period of silence as people took sides. I clearly saw an alliance between Russia and China. To me, I believe that alliance and some of these plans have been there before 9/11. And so the whole Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a very serious threat. So unfortunately, the next phase that I see with this war is a sudden attack. I don't think Russia is fooling around when they throw their hands up about the missile shield or Kosovo or all the other issues that they have. I've been watching China arm itself over the last few years, and they've done a very good job at that. And now suddenly it's Russia's turn to start to arm themselves. And I've complained the whole time that, during this time Russia will kind of sit back and seem like a non-threat while China does the dirty work, because they have the military, they have the people to be able to do this. And as far as nuclear concerns, the visions that I've had were very specific about what would happen, because right now people count on MAD as a way of avoiding nuclear war, especially between these large powers. And unfortunately, I don't think every leader in the world, and certainly throughout history, is logical and sane, per se. And so I believe they have ideas or ways to go around that. I think Russia and China just think the size of their land alone, compared to the teeny tiny space of the United States, is an advantage on their part. They've kind of built a case against the United States ever since, especially Iraq, but since we've caused 2 wars since 9/11, they've built a huge case. I see some Russian leader, whether it's Putin or not, I can't tell, but there is an antichrist leader coming from Russia who's going to kickstart everything, and he'll build a case against America, and he'll wage war against America. And I see Americans not even being aware of this. I see one day us waking up just like 9/11 to missiles landing in Washington, D.C. and along the East Coast. And it doesn't take long for America to fall.
Leon, there's a lot happening right now. What time period did you feel, or was there an attributed time period to this?
Oh, well, I have definitely been bothered by these visions, and I would like to know when myself, and I've prayed and I've asked and tried to figure out how these things occur. And the only answer I have is I have seen a series of events that happen in a certain order. So San Francisco is due for a big earthquake. We always talk about the big earthquake, but I actually see 2 very specific earthquakes coming to the Bay Area, a magnitude 7 in the county of Marin, with the force hitting the populated area of Marin, and the county of Marin being isolated for 3 days to a week, and very serious earthquake. And then 3 months later, a second earthquake, an 8-point earthquake that literally destroys San Francisco and destroys the surrounding cities. They'll never rebuild San Francisco. This is the fall of San Francisco. And although Katrina knocked out New Orleans, the American ego of rebuild and we can never fall still lies there. And this will be the first time where an American city is going to fall. And to me, I see that as the earth warning us as Americans to get us ready for how to live in an environment. If our environment threatens to fall, what will happen to us? And I can guarantee you, you will see on the news when these earthquakes happen, people react, because there'll be areas in San Francisco where people are looting and stealing and raping. Areas south of Market, you'll find people walking around in shock and confusion. You'll see people in total denial trying to get to work amongst the rubble. So you'll see what Americans react when their reality falls. And it's really shortly after that that I see the war start, within months. And unfortunately, I'm always feeling like it's any time. I feel like the earthquakes are around the holiday season. But I'll tell you, Russia is just scares me.
All right. That was a lot of information. Now you also have things about earth changes, and we're going to go through that as well. Are these things that are going to occur and really kick off, kind of like a domino effect, where it all kind of really starts to drop one after the other, about the same time that war is underway, World War?
Yeah, I feel they're directly connected. I feel like there's a lull in natural disasters in present time. I feel like there's still time for change. And so I feel like these massive disasters that I talk about and lots of people talk about for the end times are directly connected to war. And the more imminent it is and the less probable that reality is not going to change, that's when these things happen. And that's why I can't really say when these earthquakes come, because my feeling is that all these types of disasters will intensify as humankind becomes more and more violent. And I think unfortunately, there are powerful people in the world, so I think a select few of people can decide when they want to do this, and if they get that set into motion where it can't be changed, that's when we're going to really start to see this stuff.
Now, for those watching this program, we did report on this program, and other programs have been discussing that if you take a look at America today, where the military is supposedly prepared to deal with a disaster, they've moved to the middle of America. They're in Colorado. They're in Wyoming. NORAD and U.S. Northcom are in the same area now, since NORAD recently moved in to Northcom's bunker. I mean, they're in the same area. And there are a lot of different people out there, Leon, with these maps that they've made based on what they've seen about the future of the landscape of the continent of North America. You have one that you put up on your website. We got that graphic up now. What are we looking at here?
Well, you're looking at the areas that are hit by either the Chinese or the Russians or by natural disasters. When the East Coast is hit by earthquakes, you are going to see an exodus of people leaving California and leaving the West Coast. Seattle is also an area affected by volcanoes, and also San Diego has a 6.5 earthquake. And so a lot of people are going to be moving out of the area, and in the future that's going to be where the Chinese troops are going to want to make landfall and work their way in. On the other side, on the East Coast, is where you're going to have the missiles landing, and that's pretty much the shock for America. That's the fall, and it terrorizes everyone along the East Coast. So they're going to be fleeing west, and you're also going to have corrupt people on the East Coast congregating around the Mississippi Valley area. You know, people that have dark thoughts, or people that are violent, people that find this as an opportunity to will, for whatever reason, not pass that Mississippi River Valley area. So they congregate there. It's not a safe place. I would not want to be there.
What you don't seem to see, Leon, neither does my heart tell me that that's going to happen, is some sort of patriotic revolution in the country to where we take back Congress, we change things, we get the fiscal budget back on track, we bring back accountability in our government, we become more sustainable, and we reverse the things that are already in the works. You see that at all at this point?
Honestly, it doesn't even matter at this point. I mean, if you just look at Putin, his attitude with his shirt off and his attitude, he has already built a case against us. China has already built a case against us. They're not going to let that fuel go. I mean, the mess that we've caused the last few years, they're going to pounce on that. So I think it just doesn't even matter what happens internally.
All right. So let's bring the conversation now to the Rocky Mountains and this invasion of the East Coast at the Rocky Mountain area.
Well, no one's going to win America in this war. So they will try and they will attack us, and we will fall as a society as we know it. But we won't be captured. Some of the Chinese will capture people, and I feel very sorry for those people. But there's a strong brigade in the Rocky Mountains, and the Chinese really won't pass that brigade. And it's a stalemate, and the war will get more complicated between Russia and China, and it'll involve the Middle East, and Japan's involved, and so there's stuff going on all over the place. So our troops and also our armed civilians are going to pull together. I see in the Rocky Mountains families, I see strong fathers who would kill to protect their wives and their children. And I see these people getting together. I also see divinity. I see angels, large beings in the earth that are calling people to these areas and preventing other people from coming in. I know people worry about nuclear war, but the nuclear aspect in this war, as far as I've seen it, is very limited and very, very specific.
I had a talk with a friend of mine the other day that's been in the conspiratorial / psychic world for a very, very long time. It's someone whose opinion that I respect. This person, and everyone has their right to believe what they want to believe, but she definitely saw divine intervention of some form stopping all-out nuclear war. As if, like, you know, and it kind of goes with what Blue Water was saying on my program last week. You know, we're going to go real down low and experience a lot of stuff we don't want to experience, but there'll be a point to where enough is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think we receive a lot of messages, I know for myself in particular, that is specific about nukes and about being protected and the Creator not allowing certain things to happen. And so I was specifically told that no nuke would ever be detonated in America. I was specifically told that the rules of nuclear war, when all hell breaks loose, is any country, Russia and China, will stick to conventional weapons, and they will let us know before the first strike that they will stick to conventional weapons. But they will also let us know that any country that uses one single nuke will be retaliated with the carpet bombing of the arsenal from both Russia and China. And no one's foolish enough to do that. And I know our government can be somewhat psychotic, but they're not that psychotic to risk 300 million lives just to try and scare them away from invading us. They'll try to get other countries to do that, and eventually they will get Israel to do that because they'll see Russia coming through Syria to attack them, and they will have a deal in the Middle East. They will bring peace. When they attack America, they will force peace in the Middle East because of the oil reserves, and they know that if America's under attack, Israel will be upset, and Russia and China, I don't know the exact details, but probably through force or treaty of non-aggression, keep them from fighting during the time that America's at war. But eventually Israel will see Russia coming through Syria, and they will be the first to use a nuke to try to deter them, and they will get nuked back. I saw at least 30 nuclear explosions in Israel. It looked like a disaster, you know, beyond the scientific calculations. They may have detonated Israelis' own nuclear stockpile. It's worse than what they think it was going to be, and it does upset China with regards to Russia, and they'll turn on each other in the very end. And in the visions, it was communicated that these things were allowed to happen just to show us how far we could go as a species, as humans, how dark we can go and how capable we are. And that's also part of the Russian Antichrist sitting on the throne of Israel and laughing because he's the one that's wiped off Israel off the map. But at the same time, during this war, I've seen rapture, the divine entities from the other realms that are here. Again, I come back to string theory, and there are other dimensions coexisting in the room with you right now. There are angels and sometimes dark entities, and these angelic entities are here, and they will intervene, and they will open up fissures. I've had very specific visions about this with the Japanese, because they'll be attacked by the Chinese very quickly. And I've seen 99% of the Japanese people taken off the planet before they even realize anything happens. I'd see an earthquake in Tokyo that would have killed hundreds of thousands, but minutes before that earthquake, in someone's living room while they're eating dinner, a fissure opens up, a divine being steps in, and the feeling of euphoria and trust, and it'll also materialize in a way that that family can accept. So if it's an angel, maybe that would work for a Christian group. If it's whatever will work, so whatever that person can accept on a psychological level, and they'll be able to step in, and they won't really realize what's going on, but they'll step back and they'll be watching the earth and watching everything unfold and watching it rebirth and coming back onto the planet. So in many visions, specifically, at least 75% of us survive this and are taken up.
75% of the population will survive what's coming?
Yeah, it's not about sinning. It's not about being good or bad. It's not about being Christian or Muslim or Jewish. It's partly about your ability to change and your willingness to let go of this world, and for evil people to let go of that part of it. So that's very hard for Americans because we don't want to let go of money. So when 9/11 happened, it scares us because that's our survival. But you have to be able to handle that psychological transition. So the only people I saw in Japan was 99%, and the only Japanese that didn't go through rapture were seriously mental ill, and they just mentally couldn't even open that door up.
Leon, we're out of time, but before we go, and I want to thank you for appearing, first of all, on this broadcast. Second, I definitely want to do an update with you, at least in the next year, to see where we are between now and then. I want you to take us out with this concept of raising our awareness, raising our consciousness, and, as you say, unblocking our energy. For those listening right now that are feeling what you're feeling what I'm feeling, and really want to take that step, whatever that means, to move forward as we get ready to experience this crap.
Well, there's lots of different ways of doing that, and the first thing I always recommend is talking to the Creator, whatever that means for you. Whomever or whatever created you and created this universe, saying hello to that and asking that force to help you get your own answers. Psychics sometimes look like we know things that other people don't know, but when I read somebody, when I give someone a reading and I'm able to kind of help them understand what's going on, it's not because I know something, it's because I'm looking within them and they're showing me what they're stuck on and what the problem is and what they need to do to get out of it. So we all have our own answers as spirits in our own bodies. So making that connection to the Creator and just asking questions and expecting answers and looking for those answers is really the first way to do that, because there's lots of things out in this world, and some are booby traps. There's gurus out there that aren't nice people, but there's also teachers that can help you to help yourself. That's what you really want. So by starting with the Creator, you can't go wrong that way.
And that can be found with
exactly where you want to go.
And that can be found within?
Very easily. It's just being open-minded and expecting an answer. The Creator is an obviously intelligent entity, and when you're in your mind and falling asleep and you're thinking, hey, Creator, what's going on, and can you show me what's happening? Now, I'm sure some of the big things in your life that you're totally freaked out on, you may not be neutral enough to get an answer to, so pick something simple. Something that's not totally charged, that's life or death, and you know how our lives can be. So people will pray to God about the biggest problems and the things they're most stuck on, but developing and expecting those answers. So you ask questions about, show me, give me your presence in my day tomorrow. Supreme Being, give me a hello in a way that I can really clearly see, and no is only coming from you. So it's creating that relationship. And so when I say expecting an answer, so you ask those questions and just expect and look in your environment for that answer. It'll come. But my first step in clairvoyant development was just writing a letter to God, asking a question, and sticking it in a Bible. And I did that for 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, I went through it and looked at all these letters and just threw on the floor the ones that I got answers to. And I was shocked at how many piles of paper were sitting on the floor in just 3 months' time. And that's when I'm like, there's some intelligence